The anime begins by showing a young mage named Gaius fighting against a giant black dragon on a mountain. Without much effort, he could easily defeat the giant dragon with his magic power. Every mage had a magic crest on the back of their right hand, indicating their power's superiority. Since birth, Gaius has had the first emblem indicating the power of the magic creator. Now, he can't increase his power level anymore because his magic production power has reached the limit. He wanted to have a fourth magic crest that had the power to increase magic in battle. However, because Gaius can't change the magic symbol attached to him since he was born, he decides to use reincarnation magic so he can have the fourth magic symbol, the highest magic symbol that is very rare. After performing the reincarnation ritual, Gaius was finally reborn as a boy named Mathias and possessed the highest magic symbol, the symbol of battle magic. At the age of 12 years, Mathias, he plans to enroll in the Magic Academy in the city center to improve his magic abilities. On the way to the academy, he told the coachman who brought him that he felt the presence of a beast monster. Not long after he said that, a tiger monster appeared before them and almost attacked the coachman. Fortunately, Mathias, a great mage, can easily subdue the tiger monster. That means even though he is reborn as a new person, his magic power is still as overpowered as before he was reincarnated. After Mathias arrived in the capital, he walked around the city to see the atmosphere, which was much different from his hometowns. He then went to a sword shop after he heard a noise coming from the shop. It turned out that the noise came from the screams of a girl named Alma, who was complaining to the blacksmith because the sword she had bought from the shop could break easily. She asked the blacksmith to make a new sword because her friend had to use the sword for tomorrow's academy exam, but the blacksmith refused. Mathias, who saw this, offered to fill the sword with his magic power so that the sword could become stronger. He even showed his magic symbol, which he had been very proud of, but the blacksmith even considered the magic symbol as a failed symbol. Seeing his seriousness, Alma asked the blacksmith to make a sword so that she could see Mathias' ability to fill magic into a sword. Not long after, Alma's friend, Luri, came to the shop, and Mathias was embarrassed because he was fascinated by her beauty. It turns out that Luri is the owner of the broken sword that Alma previously gave to the blacksmith, and she came to that place to get a new sword. After the blacksmith finished making a sword, Mathias filled the sword with his magic power. Then Alma and Luri looked surprised by his abilities because he used magic without casting any spells. The next day, Mathias meets Luri again, who apparently enrolls in the same magic academy as him. When she was doing a sword test with a supervisor, Luri surprised many people because her sword was able to cut the examiner's sword. After people discover that the person who has cast a spell on her sword is Mathias, they become curious about the test he will undergo. In this sword test, Mathias will face one of the male magic masters named Guile because he is curious about the abilities Mathias has. Guile initially underestimates his abilities, but after Mathias wins the sword fight, Guile finally begins to acknowledge him. In the next exam, all participants will do a magic test where they have to destroy the target in front of them with magic attacks. Luri and the examinees still use incantation or magic that requires the user to cast a spell for the magic to work. According to Mathias, chanting magic techniques have long been abandoned by mages because they are not very effective for use in battle. The magic symbol possessed by Luri is still the first magic symbol, the symbol that functions to produce magic power. Mathias guessed that at that time, the average human's magic ability was even lower than before, and their knowledge of magic power was even less. That's why people in those days thought his magic symbol was a failure. When it's his turn to do the magic test, Mathias can easily create a huge explosion that can destroy an entire target with one magic attack without casting any spells. Everyone seemed surprised because magic without chanting was not widely used in those days because only certain people could master it. A few days later, Mathias, Alma, and Luri were finally officially accepted as students at the Magic Academy. After the new student acceptance ceremony, the principal, Edward, asked Mathias to come to see him at his office. After he arrived at Edward's office, Mathias was asked to help the magic masters teach magic without chanting to the academy students. Edward explained that during this time, all magic academies in the capital had established incantation magic as the official curriculum at their academy, while magic without chanting was not recognized. Edward, who realized that magic without chanting was much more effective, asked Mathias to take part in the magic competition between academies so that they could show the power of magic without chanting. Thus, the higher-ups of the academy would consider magic without chanting as the new curriculum in the Magic Academy. The next day, Mathias began teaching first-year students about magic without chanting. Mathias and a magic master will demonstrate how to use magic without chanting in front of all students so that students can learn the technique faster. When Luri began to run out of magic mana to use magic power, Mathias channeled mana into her body, which was new for her. 1 month after Mathias gave intensive magic training without chanting, the competition between magic academies finally arrived. Magic Academy 1, the academy where he teaches, will face Magic Academy 2, represented by 3 students named Lacey's, Gia's, and Devilish. When he gazed into Devilish's aura, Mathias realized that Devilish was actually a demon disguised as a human. When he fights a duel against Gia's and Lacey's, Mathias only uses light magic moves that can easily blow them away. But when he fights against Devilish, Mathias brings out his true abilities. Then Mathias tries to lure Devilish so that he shows his true form in front of everyone. Luckily, after a few sword strikes, he breaks Devilish's disguise in front of everyone. After Edward discovered that Devilish was a demon, he ordered everyone to evacuate and asked his men to report the demon to the royal palace. Those words made Devilish panic, so he tried to escape the place, but Mathias managed to thwart his plan and killed him. Mathias astonished Edward and everyone because he was the first to kill the devil alone at that time. The next day, Edward took Mathias to go before the king to get an appreciation for his services, which had succeeded in killing a demon. The king offered a very expensive fee to him, but he refused the offer and preferred to be allowed to explore the dungeons in the royal dungeons. Soon after, Mathias realized that in the dungeon, there were many demons that he could defeat to increase his magic power. He can find various gems or magic artifacts that can be used to make very powerful weapons. People in the past always fought over dungeons, but people nowadays don't know much about dungeon resources. Shortly after, the king told Mathias that demons began appearing in the human world 100 years ago and are better known as the 4 magical children. Since the appearance of the magic child in the human world, humans have begun to recognize various powers and magic skills, but until now, human magic abilities have not increased. Hearing this, Mathias suspected that the demons had infiltrated and disguised themselves as humans to spread false magic knowledge to humans. He concludes that it is very likely that the demons will return to the human world on a larger scale. Therefore, Mathias suggested the king build a permanent barrier around the royal area using a sacred artifact. Hearing that, the king agreed to this and appointed him in charge of protecting the kingdom's territory from the attacks of demons. The next day, Mathias goes to the royal armory to find a magic stone and a sacred artifact to create a barrier. Unexpectedly, when he was on a search, he found a holy sword and a holy pendant that he had created himself. The next day, Mathias invites Luri and Alma to help him find an artifact and hunt monsters in the royal dungeon, but they were hesitant to accept the offer because they feared they would only burden him in the dungeon. Moreover, Alma said she was more skilled with arrows than swords, but because she didn't choose magic arrows, she was forced to use swords like the other students. Hearing this, Mathias taught her how to channel magic into ordinary arrows so that Alma could maximize her potential. He promised to teach Alma and Luri the technique of adding magic so that they were willing to follow him into the dungeon. After arriving in the dungeon, Mathias trained Alma to shoot magic arrows, and she managed to master the technique in no time. Soon after, she does the monster hunt alone while Mathias teaches Luri the science of weapon creation. After learning about the iron smelting technique and the process of creating weapons, Luri finally began to master the technique. She even created some protective armor and combat weapons for Alma to pass through various dungeon obstacles on the lowest few floors. After arriving at the 10th floor, Mathias asked Luri and Alma to rest inside the barrier he created while he went to a higher floor to look for the adamantite stone. After finding it, Mathias had to fight against the boss monster on the floor. Fortunately, he defeated the monster by poisoning the air in that place. After getting some materials from the dungeon, Mathias, Alma, and Luri went to an artifact shop to sell their finds. At first, the receptionist girl at the shop looked down on him and thought he was just an assistant helping transport goods for Alma and Luri. But after Mathias showed the head of the giant monster he had defeated, the receptionist was shocked. He showed her a large magic stone with a very high selling price, making the receptionist girl pay him a large amount of gold. On the way back to the academy dormitory, Mathias suddenly sensed the presence of 2 demons who were about to come to the academy. His suspicion is proven right. 2 male demons named Astral and Desral are flying above the academy sky and intend to attack humans to take revenge for the death of their comrade, Devilish. Soon after, Mathias asks Luri and Alma to distract one of the demons while he tries to fight the other demons. After that, he fought against the 2 demons using his magic sword and elemental magic power. In the middle of the fight, Alma and Luri tried to limit the enemy's movement by shooting magic arrows at the demon's body. They will try to distract Desral, so Mathias can fight more freely against Astral. Then Astral constantly issues melee attacks at him, but Mathias can dodge all of those attacks with his movement speed. He can even counterattack Astral and block Astral's movement using elemental magic. After a fairly fierce battle, Mathias finally brought down Astral and sealed the demon so that the demon could not summon other demon troops. After Astral was defeated, Mathias went after Alma and Luri to teach Desral a lesson. When Desral was about to flee from that place, Mathias and Alma had already paralyzed him with their combined attacks so that he could be overthrown. After that incident, Mathias, Luri, and Alma were invited to the royal palace to receive a gift from the king. He again asked for permission to explore other dungeons, while they preferred to receive a large amount of money. During the conversation, Mathias detected a demonic aura within the royal palace and sensed that the demon was watching over them all. After he used his magic to dismantle the demon suddenly screamed, and the sound of the scream was instantly recognized by the king. The king said that the voice was similar to the former commander-in-chief of the kingdom named Urhan, who had disappeared several years ago. Mathias said that the magic technique that Urhan had just used to spy on the palace was magic that could allow the user to hear the conversation and see all the happenings in the place. Mathias then told the king that the scout magic radiance came from the northwest area of the kingdom. Hearing this, the king ordered him to investigate the area because the area was the location of a village destroyed by demons. The next day, Mathias, Alma, and Luri went to a valley searching for a giant monster that was once a legend. The legendary monster was a giant black dragon named Iris, who had been defeated by Mathias in his previous life. At first, Iris still didn't realize that Mathias was the reincarnation of a great mage, but after he showed his magic power, Iris realized that Mathias was Gaius. Mathias accidentally met Iris so she could take them to the village they wanted to go to. But unfortunately, one of Iris' wings had been broken due to the magic reactor explosion that occurred several hundred years ago. She reveals that all of humanity was killed after the big explosion, so human civilization returned to the Stone Age. Hearing that statement, Mathias finally knew why human civilization and science at that time were still not as advanced as the era when he lived as Gaius. Mathias then tries to heal Iris's broken wing using his strength, although that method still can't fully restore her wing. However, Alma and Luri could only stand still when they discovered that Mathias could befriend a giant black dragon that looked very dangerous. But when they heard Iris's voice, Alma and Luri realized she was harmless. After that, they rushed to the destination village to investigate what really happened in the village. When they got there, Mathias slaughtered the demons guarding the border gate. After that, he uses his telepathic magic power to communicate with them so that the demons do not know their conversation. At first, when entering a room, Alma and Luri were confused because they did not see a single demon in that place. But after using their magic power, they could finally sense the presence of a demon hiding using invisible magic. Soon after, Mathias removed the invisible magic on the demon so that Alma could shoot magic arrows at the demon. The demon was annoyed because Mathias had played with him, and the demon attacked him. Fortunately, Mathias could quickly fend off all attacks from the demon. Moreover, Alma shot a magic arrow at the demon to slow demon's movement. Not only that, her magic arrows contain poison that can make enemies lose their magical energy. Feeling cornered, the demon transformed into a stronger demon form and chased Luri and Alma. Fortunately, Mathias managed to stop the demon, and Alma used the opportunity to shoot the last arrow at the demon's head so that he fell. After he realized that the demon they had just killed was Urhan, Mathias took the horn from the demon. Shortly after that, another demon again appeared in front of Mathias and praised his intelligence. The battle between them was so fierce that the demon managed to cut off one of Mathias' hands. But apparently, it was just a trick made by Mathias to analyze the power possessed by the demon. As a result, he can easily overcome all attacks from the demon because he already knows all the power data from the demon. Even when the demon used mist magic to turn Mathias into mist, he could easily thwart the magic. He then used the final blow to blow up the demon, creating a huge explosion in that place. As a result of the explosion, Mathias managed to kill the demon and found a giant gem named Draco Pull. The gem was known to be a tool to summon thousands of demons to a place where the demons had power equivalent to mid-level monsters in dungeons. Luri and Alma guessed that someone was most likely going to use the gem to summon demons in their realm, so they started to panic. Fortunately, Mathias had managed to move the target area to another area with the explosion he had previously launched. When Mathias and the others were about to return to the capital, he asked Iris to step aside for a while and change into an ordinary human form so that he could take Iris to the academy. Mathias plans to enroll Iris in a magic academy so she can always be with them. Then Iris agreed to that and turned into a very cute little girl. When they arrived at the academy, Mathias gave Urhan's horn to Edward and asked for help so that Iris was allowed into the academy. Fortunately, Edward agrees to his request but will not give special treatment and will continue to test her abilities directly. Hearing this, Mathias offered to participate in supervising Iris's exam because he worried she still couldn't control her immense power. With just one small mistake, Iris could already create a huge explosion that could destroy the academy. Before the exam started, Mathias gave Iris a fake magic symbol so that people wouldn't suspect her. The next day when her acceptance test was conducted, Iris passed the sword test with great ease, and even she could throw guile very far. Also, during the magic test, Iris almost harmed the examiners because her power was too great. Luckily, Mathias always keeps an eye on her movements so that she can take precautions before the accident occurs. At the end of the exam, Iris almost angered Edward because she accidentally destroyed the academy's exam field. Fortunately, Edward is still wise and decides to accept her as a new student at the academy. The next day, the principal of the Magic Academy 2 scolded Edward for being presumptuous by saying that the magic symbol classification system in Academy 2 was still not up to par. Seeing the debate, Mathias suggested that the competition between academies be held again so that they could prove which academy system was much better. The next day, the competition between Magic Academy 1 and Magic Academy 2 started again, where Academy 2 sent all their students while Academy 1 only sent the top 5 students as representatives. When the battle started, the students of Academy 2 were still using chant magic, which was still ineffective and took more time. Meanwhile, the 5 students from Academy 1 could easily defeat all the students of Academy 2 with just one attack. After the competition ended, Edward informed the principal of Academy 2 that the king had ordered the entire Magic Academy to use the magic system without chanting. However, because the headmaster of Academy 2 still insisted on using chant magic, the king ordered the guards to imprison the principal. After that, the king gave orders for all the students of Academy 2 to join Magic Academy 1 and cooperate with each other. The next day, Mathias and the girls went to a cave to look for a giant dragon so they could retrieve the magic stone from the dragon. They will later use the magic stone from the dragon as additional material to create protective magic in the academy. After performing a brief magic ritual, they finally managed to summon the giant dragon and trap it using the magic traps they had prepared. After a hard enough effort, they managed to get the large magic stone they had been looking for. After that, Mathias intends to train Iris so that Iris can control her dragon powers in human form. Because of that, Iris, Alma, and the other academy students are getting more and more excited and active in improving their abilities. Meanwhile, in another very dark place and out of reach of humans, a group of demons is holding a gathering and planning something big. Back at the academy where Edward ordered all academy students to work together to build protective magic in the capital area. In creating the protective magic, Mathias felt demonic energy from around them, and not long after, a giant demon named Ruther appeared in their midst. After that, Mathias attempts to cut off the leg of the giant demon using a magic sword, but it turns out that the demon can regenerate. Fortunately, he has another strategy, issuing consecutive attacks to the demon's body so that the demon runs out of magic energy and eventually dies. After the monster fell, Mathias beheaded him to ensure he was really dead. In the afternoon, the students celebrated their success after successfully creating protective magic for the capital city. The next day, Mathias asked Edward for permission to let him go on an adventure to another city to investigate the dragon vein. Edward agreed to this and even allowed his friends to go on an adventure. The next day, Edward and other academy students escorted Mathias and his friends, who were about to go on a long journey. On the first day, they planned to go to the largest dungeon located under the city called Melgia. To save time, they decided to pass through the Subia forest, which is very haunted and a den of monsters. As they entered the forest, Luri began to feel uneasy as she kept thinking about the monsters that might attack them. Then Iris intended to invite them to fly together, but Mathias forbade her because Iris was still recovering. After walking for several hours, Alma and the others found it strange that there were no monsters to disturb them during the journey. When they were about to have lunch, Mathias invited them to hunt animals in the forest so they could save the food they had brought. After hunting for a few minutes, Mathias managed to get a lot of animals ranging from monkey monsters to wild boars. Luri then uses her powers to create cooking utensils. After all the firewood and vegetables had been prepared, Alma started to cook the meat with her fire magic power. Although the food exploded during the cooking process, they felt very satisfied when they tasted the meat. After eating, Mathias and the others continued their journey until they finally arrived at the outer side of the forest. He then says that the monsters in Subia forest don't attack them because they are afraid of Iris dragon aura. In the evening, when Mathias and the others arrived in the city of Melgia, they were surprised by the city's very gloomy and depressing atmosphere. Not only that, but the flow of magic energy in the city was very low and unstable. Based on the confession of one of the residents they met, the city leader corrupted all the magic stones supplying energy throughout the city. The atmosphere in the city was getting quieter because a powerful monster suddenly appeared in the city's dungeon some time ago. Hearing this, Mathias was interested in going into the dungeon and investigating the monster. However, when he registered his guild at the reception office, the receptionist said that he had to get a recommendation from the city leader to enter the dungeon in the city. Every adventurer who came to the city had to grant every request from the city leader to get permission to enter. Before making a decision, Mathias asked Alma and Luri about their sincerity in getting the permit, and they agreed. Not long after, another receptionist girl hurriedly asked someone who could heal adventurers seriously injured from monster attacks. Upon arriving at the medical tent, Mathias looked shocked when he saw that many adventurers were seriously injured due to the careless policies created by the city leader. He used the power of the detector to analyze each patient's physical condition so that he could mark patients who needed medical help early. After marking each patient, Mathias ordered Alma and the others to heal the patients with minor injuries. At first, the medical chief at that place rejected his idea because he had doubts about his healing abilities. But after Mathias showed his ability to restore the patient's physical condition, the medical chief began to trust him. Mathias then ordered each medical staff to treat the patient according to the sequence of numbers he had written in each patient's sign. As a result, after their hard work, they saved all the patients. Afterward, the chief medical officer praised his ability and thanked Mathias for help. He then asked the chief medical officer about the previous city leader, and it turned out that the original leader in the city had died in his sleep. The night before resting, Mathias wrote a secret letter to the principal. The next morning, Mathias and the girls enter the city dungeon secretly to do a monster hunt. After getting what they wanted, they tried to find the reception office to sell the skulls of the monsters they had defeated. Soon after, Mathias plans to attract the new city leader's attention with the monster skulls findings. It turns out that this method has succeeded in making the city leader interested in him. The following night, after Mathias and the others finished their dinner, bandits secretly followed and threatened them to hand over their money. Luckily, Mathias could outwit them with his dispelling magic so the bandits couldn't find them. After he accidentally appeared, the bandit caught him and pointed a gun at him. Luckily, Iris was able to easily defeat all the bandits. The next day, Mathias and his team received a summons from a young man named Ike, who turned out to be a messenger from the king. Ike informs Mathias that the king has appointed his team as the king's representative assigned to capture the leader of Melgia city under Ike's supervision. After receiving the mandate from the king, Mathias and his team rushed to the mansion of the city leader. After scanning the mansion, Mathias could find the number of security personnel in the building to devise an appropriate attack strategy. After defeating all the mansion guards, he finally finds the city leader's hideout and catches the leader. Shortly after the mission was completed, an earthquake suddenly occurred in the city, so Mathias and his team decided to check the dungeon situation. After they arrived in the dungeon, he asked Luri to guard the dragon vein while he and the others would fight against the monsters. Mathias managed to find the figure of a demon controlling the city's magic power. However, unlike the demons he had faced before, the demon could dodge all his attacks and overcome his tactics. Mathias guessed that another, much stronger demon was communicating with the demon and giving directions to the demon. Fortunately, thanks to Luri's help, Mathias escaped the demon's trap and cut off communication with the demon. As the demon started to get cornered, it transformed into a stronger form and started attacking Mathias blindly. But he could repel all of these attacks and attacked him with a counterattack until the demon was killed. After the demon dies, Mathias plans to track down the whereabouts of other demons who communicate with the demon during the fight using a tool he had created many years ago. But that device is in the territory of the Radinia Alliance, and to enter that territory, he must get permission from the king. Shortly after, Mathias and his team returned to the capital to ask permission from the king. When they arrived at the capital, they found that Edward was rebuilding the Magic Academy building to be stronger and able to withstand the attacks of the demons. After they got permission, they rushed to continue their journey to the destination, which was suspected to be a forbidden area. Everyone who entered the region had to have rank A ability and above, so they decided to increase their rank through the promotion exam in the next city. After Mathias and his team arrived in the city, a test supervisor named Gibrod passed Alma, Luri, and Iris because their magic symbols were considered superior. However, Mathias, who has a magic symbol that is considered a symbol of failure, must pass the test by fighting against Gibrod. Then they clashed swords in a one-on-one duel. Although Gibrod said that he could not do magic, Mathias could see a strong magic aura inside him. At first, Gibrod seemed superior to him and could imitate his fighting style, but in the end, Mathias beat Gibrod with his tactics. After the fight ended, Mathias suggested that Gibrod learn magic and gave a magic manual to him. Mathias said that Gibrod has the potential for great magic power, but he still doesn't realize it because his knowledge of magic is still not too much. As a thank you, Gibrod took Mathias and his team to the border of the Forbidden City and warned him to always be careful. When they are about to enter the Forbidden City, they get an entry card that has the power of the evil eye. After some time, Mathias realized that bandits were about to attack them, so he used cloning magic to outwit them. As a result, they could deceive the bandits and put them to sleep. When they arrived at the city's outskirts, they could feel the magic energy of the 32 demons around the area. Mathias suspected that the city had been overrun by demons, so he decided to walk through a secret path so that they could arrive at the city center safely. When they arrived at the city center, Mathias and his team were surprised because the entire population in the city had been influenced by the devil's power. Shortly after, Mathias and his team disguised themselves as townspeople to investigate what really happened in the city. After that, they were escorted to a coal factory producing prohibited goods. The factory produces demeanor stones that can blow up a city on a large scale. That night, Mathias and his team devise a plan to kill the demon controlling the city by using Iris as bait. The tactic succeeded in helping them kill most of the demons until, finally, when there were 10 demons left, his plan began to unfold. Fortunately, Gibrod appeared and helped them slash the remaining demons, leaving only one main demon. He fought desperately against the main demon until, finally, both were lying down because they were running out of energy. When Mathias's team arrived, the main demon suddenly intended to attack Alma and Luri, but his attempt was thwarted. Before the demon died, he had said something about the seal that was about to open and the monster's resurrection. This made Mathias realize that the demon was only an intermediary, and the real demon leader was still wandering elsewhere. After the intermediate demon was annihilated, the entire population managed to free themselves from the influence of the demonic power and regain their consciousness. Mathias then healed Gibrod's wounds and handed over the security in the city to him. After they continued their journey, they finally arrived at the location they were aiming for and found a secret base that was once created by Mathias. Mathias then activates the computer machine at the base to gather all information regarding a demon named Zardia. When he found out the magnitude of the power possessed by the demon Zardia, Mathias was pessimistic and felt they would not defeat the demon. But he remembered the magic sword he had created in the past, where the magic sword was in the arsenal of the royal palace. Soon after, Mathias and his team rushed to the capital to take the magic sword. He orders Luri and Alma to take the magic sword, while Mathias and Iris will fight against Zardia to buy time until the magic sword is found. Afterward, Iris and Mathias combined their powers to attack Zardia, but unfortunately, the attack was still not strong enough to take him down, and even Iris was almost killed by his attack. Soon after, Mathias again attacks him with consecutive attacks, but he suffers serious injuries. When the situation becomes increasingly critical, Mathias decides to use his life to increase his strength to the highest level, even though it is very risky. At the same time, Alma and Luri had found Mathias' magic sword and rushed to bring the sword to him. Unfortunately, their efforts were hindered by two demons who had attacked the academy in the past, so they had to fight against the two demons first. Back to Mathias, who is increasingly desperate because he has to fight against Zardia and protect the kingdom simultaneously. With the remaining strength Mathias has, he tries to attack and force Zardia's magic power. Meanwhile, Luri and Alma get help from Edward and the other academy students to defeat the demon and hand the magic sword to Mathias. When Mathias was about to issue a final attack with the magic sword, Zardia had already stabbed him until he died. But a miracle began to occur when Mathias was about to fall to the ground when a bright light suddenly enveloped his body, and he came back to life. It turns out that Mathias deliberately lets Zardia kill him because to be able to activate the magic sword, he must sacrifice his life first. After the magic sword was activated, Mathias reached the peak of his strength and finally managed to kill Zardia with only one strike. Before he died, Zardia said that many other demons could kill Mathias, and the battle would continue. After the fight ended, Luri ran to pick up Mathias and hugged him. The next day, they were summoned before the king, who wanted to bestow titles and domains on them all. However, Mathias refuses the gift offer and prefers to continue his life as an adventurer, while Iris and the others eagerly ask for gifts of money and food. On another day, Mathias went to the royal storehouse to buy a gift of magic stones that he would present to Luri. But not long after that, Edward came and asked him to have an emergency meeting. Edward then shows a wooden doll that has invaded the border area of the Magic Kingdom. After conducting an inspection, Mathias guessed that the wooden doll was sent by the demons with the help of energy from humans. He was assigned to investigate the wooden doll with guile. In the evening, Mathias invites Luri to meet in private in the academy garden before he finally gives her a crystal necklace. Since then, their relationship has grown closer as lovers. The next day, Mathias and his team start their adventure to complete all the missions given to the Magic Kingdom. Their adventures will continue until the last moment when death separates them. The anime ends. The thing that can be learned from this anime is that the strong bonds of friendship and togetherness that we have with our closest friends will help us solve every challenge in our life.